It's going to be a while before we see the Toronto Blue Jays make their debut in the new and improved Rogers Center. But Mark Shapiro spoke out more in depth about the changes that we're going to see come April. And finally, Danny Jansen, is his full breakout year coming? We're going to break that down and much more in this episode of Jays Digest. What's up, Jays fans? I'm your host, Peter Vryonis, alongside host Nick Gosse. Baseball is coming, boys. Baseball is coming, and the first spring training game is on Saturday. We cannot be more excited. We might live stream for that one, might live stream for the one on Sunday against the New York Yankees, but we cannot be more excited for some baseball, and we want to thank you all for the support that we've been getting. Hopefully, we can keep it going all 162 long.
Yeah, we're on the road to 6,500 subscribers. Maybe hit it before opening day, so make sure to hit the subscribe button. We'll have lots of content coming with spring training games about to start, just days away. But speaking of baseball starting, the Rogers Center obviously had some renovations, and Mark Shapiro spoke out a bit more on the changes and what he expects. Kind of the other team's reactions to be and what kind of biases that they tried to avoid when creating this Rogers Center. So we'll start with this from Shadavidi. He made the piece about it. He said, during discussion with the media this afternoon, Mark Shapiro said the Blue Jays' modeling of the new dome and dimensions suggests it will still play relatively neutral. There will definitely be more doubles, but we do not think we've created an extreme ballpark attribute. And this kind of goes to show in case you haven't seen it, some of the renovations as well. Push outward in left field and right field, necessary to accommodate spacious and elevated bullpens that Shapiro believes will add to the fan experience. And the asymmetry will create a more interesting game and more nuance. Now, I have two more screenshots from the article. Peter, I'll just get your thoughts on, touch on the Rogers Center a bit more as, the season's, very, very close and it's coming very fast. What are your thoughts on, what he had to say here before we get into the rest of the interview, and maybe any thoughts you have on the Rogers Center changes or how you think it'll play to maybe the Jays' advantage or other teams' advantage?
Yeah, I don't think it'll be that big of an adjustment because we've got to remember that these guys play in different ballparks all the time. They might not be familiar with let's say Angel Stadium, and then they got to go there and play a 4 game series. So it's everything is an adjustment. Baseball is a game of adjustments. The players will be fine. I'm just excited to see a different element to the game, because everything was just the same in the outfield wall at Rogers Center, and what was a home run and what wasn't. But now it won't be that clear cut anymore. So I'm excited to see how the new rangy outfielders do in there, like Dalton Varsho and Kevin Kiermaier, and I'm also excited to see some more power, some more balls dropping out there in the outfield.
Yeah, and seems to me, at least to me, the most exciting season I can remember in recent memory for all the changes, obviously all the rule changes, the
Oh
stealing
yeah.
changes, the pitch clock. Jays completely changed around their outfield and of course the Rogers Center. But here's some more information, and Brandon Belt also spoke about it. So basically, he asked, "What does the changes mean?" And he basically said, "What does that mean? I'm not 100% sure. None of us are," which kind of makes sense because no one really knows how this is actually going to play. You can do drops all you want. But Brendan Belt said that he hadn't heard about the new dimensions when he signed as a free agent, but once he did, that was welcome news for sure, of course, being a left-handed power bat. And the final thing, which is very interesting, he said if there's some unintended consequence, an outcome that's extreme, we'll either say we're good to live with that. We like having an extreme ballpark attribute, but I will tell you heading into it, we do not think we've created an extreme ballpark attribute. We still expect our ballpark to play relatively neutral. And I'm very, very interested to see how it actually does play.
Mhm.
Obviously, I think he's not going to say it here necessarily, but I do think the players that they signed and traded for, I guess, favor our outfield a bit more, which is like any MLB team. But I don't
Yeah.
know. It seems there's a lot of changes coming to the Rogers Center. Already came, and it's going to even continue to happen over the next few years. But it's just super exciting.
Yeah, for sure. And another thing is that they won't even be able to step foot on it until April 11th, their home opener
Yeah.
against
Yeah.
the Detroit Tigers. So it's going to be something completely new to them once they take the field, and something completely new to the Tigers as well. So I think the first few innings is going to be a lot of confused players out there. We'll just put it that way.
Yeah, and it's going to be an extremely, at least I imagine it's going to be an extremely exciting opening day for, or home opener, sorry, it is for every Jays fan out there. And I don't know, I'm jealous for those of you who get to see it in person. But we'll move on to the next topic now, which is a Danny Jansen breakout potentially coming, and an article dropped kind of highlighting what his offseason has been like so far, what he, worked on last year going into this offseason. So this is from Scott Mitchell. He does great work. You can check out the full column on his Twitter. I believe it's on TSN. He said, the full Danny Jansen breakout depends on health. He knows it too. Injuries suck. I try to take my body and bulletproof it so I can get back to being a durable guy. Obviously, he's alluding to the many injuries that he did have last season and kind of, throughout his career a little bit here. He said, it's only natural to feel like confidence boosts when they keep you here, which is what he said after another day of grueling spring training work for a catcher. And of course, we spoke on this yesterday. Alejandro Kirk is not there yet. So this maybe gives you some insight into, the grueling process that it is. And you definitely feel that, and I feel the belief in me. And there was definitely some rumor buzz around it, but I thought I did a pretty good job of just focusing on what's ahead of myself. And he's, of course, alluding to the big trade that ended up happening with not him, but Gabriel Moreno, of course. And we have a few more screenshots, but I'd like to get your thoughts on that really quick. What are your thoughts on, Danny Jansen's upcoming season? We haven't really spoken on it too much because, all the other catchers that are that took Gabriel Moreno and Danny and Alejandro Kirk. But what are your thoughts on his potential breakout year?
Yeah, well, you and I, Nick, it was basically a foregone conclusion that Danny Jansen was going to get traded in the offseason. We were drawing up trade
Yeah.
packages for him. We sent him to probably about 13 different teams over the course of the offseason, and he's still here, and I'm pretty happy because I really liked what the catching duo did last year. I don't know if you want to disrupt that. And I'll say it again, you deal from a position of strength to address other areas of need that you had. So I think the Jays did the right thing. Danny Jansen is still young, and he showed a lot at the plate last year. And just his game calling is the most advanced of any of the three catchers that they had before the big trade. So I think it was the right move, And now Alejandro Kirk, him being at the WBC is in jeopardy. So if he has to miss any sort of time, would you have trusted Gabriel Moreno to fully handle the pitching staff come opening day? I'm not quite sure. I wouldn't feel comfortable as a fan, despite how talented he is. But Danny Jansen, he knows the pitching staff like the back of his hand, despite some new additions. And Alejandro Kirk will fit in seamlessly once he gets back as well.
Yeah, and it's very interesting to see Kirk still not there. Of course, the manager spoke out on it. I mean, yesterday's video covered it. We might have some more info on it tomorrow because there's some other stuff that came out. But it kind of goes to show, like you said here, the grueling training camp. Well, the work that the catchers do in training camp is unreal. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens with Kirk. But move on to a couple of last things he said. I don't like the either or tag of an offensive or defensive catcher. I just want to be a well-rounded catcher. He wants to be elite at both. I think the defense is something that I've always put so much preparation into, and that's never going to change. The receiving, blocking, throwing, that's primary. I've given myself time over the last couple of years to work on my offense, but you can go 0 for 4 and win a ball game behind the plate. Everyone knows that, and that is a phenomenal mindset to have. Of course, he's not going to be able, and no one's really able to hit, great every single game, but him, great defender. At least, the eye test makes it seem like a great defender. I think he's going to continue to improve because he's not that old. He's still fairly young.
Yeah, absolutely. He's a very well-rounded catcher, and he runs the bases very well too, which is an element that he brings to the game that Alejandro Kirk does not. So sometimes when you are playing a very important game and you can't afford those little mix-ups on the base paths, then probably Danny Jansen is going to get the nod if it's not Alek Manoah pitching. So if he can stay healthy, we know what he can do. But the only issue that he's had his entire career is just staying on the field. So if he can do that and play consistently and find some sort of offensive rhythm up there at the plate, then yeah, he's going to be very good, and I wouldn't be surprised if he is the number one catcher by the end of the year.
Yeah, and that's what people were saying. And I don't know if it was last video or the video before. People were commenting on me saying that he's the best backup catcher in the MLB, and a couple people said he's the starting catcher and Kirk's the backup catcher. But either way, I guess I put them as 1A and 1B rather than starter and backup.
Yeah,
It completely depends on the pitcher, and they're both starting caliber, and they would start on majority of clubs in the major
exactly.
league. So just for those of you out there who gave me some beef for that, I'll take it back and say 1A
They're
and
going to
1B.
play a similar amount of games. They're going to play a similar amount of games. So yes, maybe Danny Jansen will be the backup come opening day when Alek Manoah is taking the hill and Alejandro Kirk is personal catchers out there. But I mean, I wouldn't be shocked if let me do some math here. Alejandro Kirk catches 90 games and Danny Jansen catches 72. There's no backup in the league that's catching 72. They're just both very equal and bring different things to the table there.
Yeah, it's going to be very, very interesting to see. And the big difference this year is obviously we have Brandon Belt, who's kind of our main DH. So there's going to be less DH opportunities for them to play on the same day. So we'll probably see that less, which will ultimately benefit them heading into October when you put your best lineup out there. But
Mhm.
the last thing he has to say about this, and this is actually John Snyder who talked about the situation before we move on to the quick final topic. He said, they're two really good hitters for one. Said John Snyder, a former catcher himself. They both bring certain skill sets that are just really hard to find. They're both good defenders. They're both really good hitters. They get on base. They can hit with power, and they complement each other very well. He's, of course, talking about the tandem of Kirk and Jansen. He said, I think you look at the game now with very few exceptions. Most teams have two good catchers. You're not running out there for 140 games with one guy. It's nice that we're at the point now with both of them where our pitchers are comfortable with both of them and they work really well together. And that is a fairly good point, though. I will say I don't think there's many teams out there who there's no teams out there who have a good catching duo as us, but backup catchers are slowly getting better, and it's less of a backup catcher role. It's more of a 1A 1B simply because the health these days is having a catcher catch all 162 games is never going to happen. But even catching 140 ends up hindering their performance. So do you have any thoughts on that before we wrap up?
Yeah, absolutely. The most important thing is to keep these guys healthy, especially if you're a good team and you know that you're going to be in the fold come playoff time. So you don't want to run your catchers into the ground, and to have two really good ones like that bring different elements to the game. It's not like Danny Jansen and Alejandro Kirk are the same players and they're just doing the same things and providing the same things. Kirk's more of a contact hitter that won't strike out, that'll play station to station baseball with the guys on base. And Danny Jansen is kind of an all or nothing type hitter. He loves to pull the ball with power, but there's some more swing and miss in his game, and he could run the bases if he were to get on there. So it's going to be interesting to see. I'm interested to see how Alejandro Kirk adapts now that he's missing a little bit of time, and hopefully everything goes okay with his child and his girlfriend as well.
Yeah, I'm sure it'll end up being a non-story by the time the season gets underway, but it's kind of the biggest story right now just because of that question. Because what do you do if Kirk ends up missing time, which I don't think will happen, but I'm sure we'll be
Right.
covering it here. But let's move into the quick final topic, which is a Pearson versus Matt Chapman matchup yesterday, and it was very interesting to see because Pearson is someone who, the more I read on Twitter, the more articles I read from people who are actually at the camp, it seems like he has a very, very, very good chance to break the team and in the bullpen this season. So Nate Pearson x Matt Chapman ending in a strikeout. Pearson was working in the 96 to 98 miles per hour range with his fastball, and that is especially for this point in camp, that is very, very good.
Hmm.
And I don't know if you have any thoughts on what you think Nate Pearson will bring. We had a couple videos on it. Obviously, we had our rise and fall video there a couple months ago, but I don't know. I'm excited, and I don't know. The more I read, I just get I don't know what it is. I just get the feeling myself that he's going to end up breaking camp with the team as maybe like the sixth inning guy.
Well, the stuff is just so good, and it's undeniable, and his ceiling is so much higher than a guy like Trevor Richards or even Adam Simber for that matter. Even though Adam Simber was very good last year and he provided a lot, he can only do so much. He's throwing 86, 87 from a weird arm slot, and that's his calling card. And if he does leave one over the middle, he's gonna get melted. So that thing that you showed over there, that screenshot, the comments are gonna have a field day because Matt Chapman ending in a strikeout, it's like a symphony for them. So I expect a lot of comments saying, "Of course, Matt Chapman struck out. He's Matt Chapman." So give the guy a break, man. It's February. All
Yeah,
right. You'll be excited once you watch him take third base.
yeah, I'm excited for it, and I think Nate Pearson, like you said, he has the highest ceiling. And there's going to be a time where, whether it be a starter gets knocked out early and there's runners on base, and we don't have David Phelps
Yeah.
anymore, and we need someone with velocity. Not that David Phelps had velocity, but he was kind of the guy. And you put in Nate Pearson, 'cause you're not going to put in Adam Simber in a situation like that. So it'll be interesting to see how the whole situation develops. Everything is fluid right now. It's very, very interesting and it's exciting. We're 2 days away from the opening spring training day. So hope you guys are excited for that. We're very excited. We'll have lots of content coming, and we'll see you guys tomorrow.
Let's go, baby.